Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Talk with the Titans, live from London, UK, all the way to the US of A and worldwide. I'm your host, Kalam, and this is Talk with the Titans. Oh, man. Today we've got a very, very interesting show in store for you guys. It's actually entitled Islam, Asia, and the Culture That Produced Groomers. And today we're actually having a panel discussion, okay? A panel discussion where I'm inviting the members of the public that may have been affected by this situation that's going across the country. I'm pretty sure this is actually an international affair across Europe. Actually, there's stark numbers and statistics that are showing that there is a subculture or subsection within inside of a subculture where this act of grooming young girls is actually taking place. And we'd like to today actually discuss the factors that actually cause such things as grooming gangs, and discuss this openly and honestly, without the fear of being called racists, without the fear of being called Islamophobes, is to actually tackle a problem that is currently running rampant across the country. It's a problem that we must force our eyes open to and discuss this. Okay, even if it's just to bring attention and awareness, to the public, not for the sake of carrying out or constructing or conducting a mass witch hunt, but at least allowing us to be informed to know that young girls are actually in danger right now, and most of us may not know about this act of grooming. So right now is a time that we can all learn about what is going on. And actually spot these things before they actually occur to our children, and even to occur within inside of our, brothers, uncles, cousins, who may be, I'm going to use the word victim right now, okay? I'm going to say that they may be a victim of circumstance, okay? Victim of circumstance that actually produces such people. Now, we're not going to say that these people are completely innocent. I'm never going to say that they're innocent, but their circumstances, their culture, their, breeding, or should I say their enculturation, has taught them certain things, that aren't quite apt to what we expect of people inside of British culture. It's not what we expect of people, humans, full stop, or humanity, full stop. Now, this type of, breeding or education, needs to be eradicated. It needs to be, a light needs to be shone on it for us to actually be aware of what's going on, what the factors are creating and causing these types of individuals, and how can we protect, future generations from falling victim to this and becoming these predators, that are going out and seeking young girls and corrupting these young women's or young girls' lives. So yes, today we're going to have a very interesting discussion. Hopefully we can have a nice filled panel. Okay, now most of you guys who are supposed to be on, I can't see you right now. I've been receiving tons of emails, from you guys saying you will love to come on, giving me tons of resources as well. But I'm asking you guys right now, please check your email if you have emailed me. All right, check your email. Also, I posted the link inside of the comment section. So I would love to get you guys on an ASAP tip. If you can't see within inside of the comment section, I'm definitely want to get my brother Raj on. So Raj, Nikki Dudley, and others alike who definitely Kelly others alike who definitely expressed their interest. Please check the comment section, and right now check the description box. You should be able to see the link inside of the description box if you aren't able to find it via your emails. All right. So right now, I'm actually going to hand it over to my brother Raj to actually, discuss the situation. Because I want to do as least amount of talking as possible. This is really for you guys to come in and educate our audience, as well as educating myself on this situation. So Raj, can I need to come in, please?
Yeah. Can you? Before I go on, I'm talking from my laptop. How clear?
It's not great, but it's workable. Okay, it's not great, but it's workable. So
is it?
I would love
Is it as bad?
I would love for you
Go on.
to introduce yourself and how you first
Yeah.
became aware of this crisis affecting our young ones.
Right, yeah. I mean, most people might know me by obviously Raj from Speaker's Corner. I've got a sore throat, which is why I'm probably not speaking louder than I normally do, which is probably a good thing sometimes. What it is that as a Sikh community from the 80s, I was hearing rumors because I think when people live in London, they don't really understand that certain things like ghettoization and kind of like separation of communities and stuff is more pronounced up north, and a lot of problems are probably worse up north when it comes to like community tensions and stuff because of that. And so in London, we got a little bit of a different, I think, kind of outlook on what's going on. So when we hear about this, we're a little bit kind of confused. And so I heard these stories from when I was growing up about grooming and get our girls being kind of like picked up outside school. I mean, there's a documentary from before. Can you still hear me though? Kind of.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So there's a documentary on the BBC from around 1988, and it was about the kind of community tensions between the Sikhs and the Muslims. There was a lot of fighting, and one of the biggest issues was this. Uh, what we thought was the Muslim guys going outside our schools, the schools, and then picking up underage Sikh girls when they were like in their 20s, and the girls are like
Raj,
13, 14. And then what we call then they were friends and girls. In that section called a gang. It's not a gang. Like a lot of things, like the Crips and the Bloods, they
all
originally
right, Raj,
started off. Yeah.
Raj, can you hear me?
Hello.
Raj, can you hear me? Quiet for a hot second because your mic or your connection isn't the greatest.
Like the Crips and the
All
Bloods,
right,
they
Raj, I'm gonna get you to call my phone.
originally started off as a community group trying to protect their people, but it did descend into a gang towards the end.
All right, let's actually get Raj to call in. I think it's going to be the better way of actually having this conversation because unfortunately his mic keeps skipping. So Raj, if I can get you to repeat it that you were saying online again, so our audience members can hear you.
Yeah, can you call me back on my mobile, please?
No problem. All right, so just bear with us, family. We're going to get Raj back in to discuss this. So we definitely want to hear Raj's perspective. And afterwards, I will open it up to the rest of the audience, and I will be asking specific questions. So right now, we've actually got Raj with us right now. So Raj, could I get you to start from the beginning? And,
all right.
Repeat yourself. I need you to turn off your mic.
Yeah, I am. Hold on a second.
Don't worry, it's okay. I'll just eject you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So
yeah. So should I go back from the beginning then?
Please do. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, like I said, there's this particular problem that I started hearing about was in the 80s, and as I was growing up, obviously I was born in the 70s, in the 70s, but as I was growing up, I started hearing all these stories about stuff going up north. I think people that are in London have a different kind of experience of like integration and how the communities function. Up north is much more ghettoized, and so I think the problems are much more pronounced up there. And so I was growing up hearing these stories about Sikh girls being picked up outside schools when they're like 13, 14, by Muslim girls, by Muslim guys, Pakistani guys, who would then basically kind of befriend them, start going out with them, and then they would start to prostitute them out at some point. It could take a year, it could take 6 months, it didn't really matter until they got them to the point where they gain their trust and they start prostituting them out. And so in the 80s, the Sikhs set up a group called the Shera Punjab, and Shera Punjab just means Lions of Punjab. And there's a documentary on the BBC, if you Google, from '98, but the Sikhs were talking about why they set this up, and there was a lot of community tensions and fights during the 80s and the 90s. And originally the group was set up to protect our girls. Obviously, like the Bloods and the Crips, if you look at their history, they were originally set up to actually support their community and to protect their community, but it descended into drugs and criminality afterwards. And a similar situation did happen to the Shera Punjab towards the end of its life. But in the beginning, it was a group there to protect our girls, and a lot of fights and a lot of people went to prison. Like I said, I know people that are good mates of mine, and I still speak to now who went to prison. Obviously, things kind of died down afterwards. I think because the Sikhs started kicking some ass, and unfortunately, I don't condone violence, but sometimes if people are raping your girls and doing bullshit around your community, you can't just sit around and just wait for them to do it. And so I think they went for an easier target, which was the white girls in the 90s, end of the 90s. And then obviously, for me personally, I didn't really think much of it because I'm from London. And then in 2008, it hit my doorstep. With one of my cousins when she was 14, and before everyone says, "Oh, the girl who was there," no, she was from a very affluent family. The parents were very religious. She had a good structure around it, educated, and but she had one thing that was a problem, which was which we need to look into, is that she had no confidence, in the sense that she thought that she was unattractive, and you know, when you're 14 and you think you're unattractive and you're pretty, these guys saw that as a real easy target. And they got her, and then within, I think, what happened originally, they got her by pretending they were Sikh, and so they met her at a like a Sikh function, and so you can't tell a difference sometimes between who's Sikh and who's not Sikh. And then all they did was within like 6, 7, 8 months, they started to get her onto drugs, and then got her onto alcohol and drugs, and then started prostituting her out. And we tried going to the police. And the police's response is obviously, "Oh, well, it's a community issue. You don't like it because she's going out with a Muslim guy and you're Sikh." And we tried to explain, "Look, man, she's getting prostituted out, man. This is the complete..." But they didn't want to listen. So, long story short, we sorted the situation ourselves out, and we got her back. But her life is ruined, basically. So, even though we've got her out of it, I think as the girls get older, I think they actually find life more difficult, because when she was younger, she actually thought that she was at fault, that it was her fault. But as she's got older and she's become more mature, she started to realise that she was actually manipulated. And I think it's affected her in a way that people don't understand. This is why I get so passionate when people start telling me, "Oh, forget about it," or "It's not happening, it's all in your head." You know, it's not in my head. There's thousands of Sikh girls right now. Is it okay that I'm still talking, Kalam?
Yeah, but please round it down in the next 30 seconds.
So right now, even with what's been going on, if you look at Sikh Awareness Society with Mohan Singh, he's dealing with like over 90 plus cases at the moment. There's another group called Sikh Youth UK. They're dealing with another 90 plus cases at the moment. And so, you know, this situation is just like the tip of the iceberg. I mean, just because the problem with the Asian community, they don't talk about it. So, like my situation, we had to deal with it in-house. In reality, we should have like really pressed the police and tried to get it through, but we didn't want. We were too scared about the humiliation and the embarrassment to our family. I got to the point last year in 2017, after 9 years of trying to bury my head in the sand, I thought, screw it. I heard all the cases coming up from Rotherham and all of that, and I was like, all right, someone's going to speak out. Yeah, and before everyone says, oh, you're shaming your cousin, no, I'm not. I've spoken to the family. I've said to them, look, this is what I'm going to do. I won't say your name and I won't say exactly who it was, where it happened, but I will be talking about your particular case, and they are okay with me doing that as long as I don't mention their name. And so they're sick and tired of this particular situation because their lives have been ruined. I want to say to people that are making fun and say, oh, it's not a big deal. When you watch a grown man cry, yeah, he's like a 45-year-old man, 50-year-old man, he's never cried before, and he's crying because his daughter's been raped. And you watch a woman, an old woman, crying her eyes out because her grandkid's been raped. Yeah, it's not a joke. This is why I get very passionate, because I've seen things that you guys can never imagine when somebody has been brutalized like the way she was. And so I'm sick and tired of people saying there's nothing going on. Oh, it's just in your head. Oh, it's just a one-off case. No, it's going on all the time. And the Sikhs are fed up with it. And some Sikhs are saying to me, oh, well, don't talk about it. No. I will talk about it. I'll talk about it. And the reason I'm going to talk about it, Kalam, I'm going to shame that community, that Asian Muslim community, to a point that they will stop doing it. Because I think violence ain't worked. Even talking about it hasn't worked. The only way to do it is to just shame them until they understand what they're doing is unacceptable. So that's all I got to say at the moment.
All right. Thank you. All right. What I'd like to do right now is actually, re-welcome our audience back in. So today we're actually discussing, grooming gangs. We're discussing, the Islam, Asian, the culture that produced grooming gangs. Okay. Me personally, I've watched an interview that was given by Andrew. Sorry, what's his name? Andrew Norfolk. With the Sikh Awareness Society, and it was very, very alarming, very informative, to say the least. And I do recommend you guys actually watch it. And it seems to be that it is a cultural thing, there's cultural factors to actually produce individuals like this. So before I go further on, please, kind of sounding like kind of fish tanky. Kind of fish tanky. I don't even know what that means. But anyways, if I can get you guys here to please hit the like button and share this show with everybody as possible. You can, because we definitely want to have some very interesting conversations. And if you guys want to get involved, please hit the link down below. And for those of you guys who've actually emailed me, also check your email to find out the link to join in today. So now, I actually want to get the definition of grooming gangs. So I don't know if anybody is on the panel right now. Could we get the definition of grooming gang? All right. Because we did have a lot of people say that they're well informed on this situation. So right now I'm looking for a definition of grooming gang. What is it?
Do you want to give my definition?
No, just hold tight. So what is the actual definition of grooming gang? Okay. Can I get you lot to come in? All right, Kelly on. Okay, I'm just waiting for anybody who has or knows the definition of grooming gang. Okay, is anybody around to give definition? Yes, hello.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just got cut off. I did not follow what you was saying. Can you say it again?
So the definition of grooming gang. Today we're talking about the grooming gangs. But
Yeah.
No, what is actually the definition of grooming gang?
Somebody has to explain.
Yeah, basically the definition of a grooming gang would fall under, I think what we have to look at is at the two words here. So the first one is grooming and the second one would be gang. So grooming is to take care or to look after someone. So if we look at the areas in which a lot of these incidences take place, it's actually lower income areas. So a girl may be vulnerable, she might not have enough money, she might have, not enough emotional support from her family, which is at this moment, this is where an individual would step in and would show that person some love, or with gifts, money. So you see in a lot of the cases, it's also alcohol and drugs as well. So they'll step in with these things, groom them with these kind of material possessions, these objects, and then later on, she would be introduced to more than one person in which she would have to engage in certain acts. So I think that's the definition of how a grooming gang would operate.
Definitely. I think I agree with your definition right there. And just so you guys actually have a reference, we can actually just quickly go to Wikipedia, and it has the act or child grooming as a thing basically. It says here, child grooming is befriending and establishing an emotional connection with a child and sometimes the family to lower the child's inhibition with the objective of sexual abuse. Child grooming is also regularly used to lure minors to various illicit businesses such as child trafficking, child prostitution, or the production of child pornography. The crime has been prescribed in various ways since the International Convention for the Suppression of the Traffic in Women and Children, which was agreed in 1921 as a multilateral treaty of the League of Nations that addressed the problem of international trafficking of women and children for nefarious purposes. The prescribed traffic was international in nature at that time. The concept of localized grooming, in which gangs groom neighborhood victims, was defined in 2010 by the UK Child Exploitation and Online Protection Centre. All right. Now it goes into various different details of the characteristics of grooming, via the internet, via localized grooming, and it has a lot of information online. If any of you guys would like to just check and just kind of inform yourself real briefly, it's always good just to quickly check an encyclopedia or place where you got a very basic understanding of this topic itself. So let me just get everybody back into the mix. So right now we have a panel filled with individuals. I would love for you guys to come on, introduce yourself, and let our audience know what brought you here. Like, why did you want to actually speak on this topic? So I'm going to start off first of all with Raskin. I'll get you to unmute your mic and introduce yourself.
Yeah. No, I've been looking into this for some time, but I hadn't been looking at the Muslim gangs in particular. What I was looking at was probably back in 2010 now. I was on a website, so I'm kind of into conspiracies and those kind of things. And I was on a website which claimed that Jimmy Savile was a pedophile. So obviously back then that would have been completely unknown. Nobody knew it back then. I remember telling people, listen, I've looked at this website, it's given me pictures, it's given me evidence, it's shown me that Jimmy Savile has, sexually abused young children, not only girls, but boys. And I told people that, and they're like, no, you're mad, you must be crazy. It's Jimmy Savile, he's a BBC personality. That would never happen, such a high figure like that. It's just bullshit. Stop reading your conspiracy websites. So I said, okay. I moved on, forgot about it, didn't really research anymore. And then a few years later, it came out that actually he was. So when that came out, I kind of thought to myself, if such a thing can happen at such a high level, and for it to be actively, because obviously people in the BBC knew about it, if it was to be, covered up and people knew, then what else is happening? So that got me on the trail. And obviously the websites that were on were always talking about these topics. And that kind of led me to, things going on in Rotherham, Oxford, Telford, all these other places. But what it's not, the Muslim side of it does interest me, but what interests me is the cover up, is the active involvement in people that the public trust in actually trying to not solve the crimes or persecute the people that are involved in them, but actually cover it. That's the side that interests me, because then I question, the morals and everything. So that's how I got into this thing, and that's why I'm on the panel to discuss these things.
Excellent. And I just want to quickly shout out, those individuals who have actually, took their money out their pockets and actually donated to Titans TV. So real quickly, I wanted to just give a quick shout out to the NREAB, okay, for actually donating to Titans TV. And I would also like to make a big shout out to somebody else as well who's not actually listed on the super chats. I would like to give a shout out to Angela Menag, okay, who donated earlier on today. She donated, £20 to the GoFundMe, okay, to the GoFundMe that we have set up here, the Titans TV GoFundMe. And she donated that in order for me to actually make a purchase of a particular book called Easy Meat, okay, called Easy Meat. And I would like to just, let everybody know that that has actually been purchased. I've got my copy of Easy Meat coming in tomorrow, all thanks to Angela for keeping me actually informed on this topic. I want to give a big shout out as well for everybody else who donated, and not necessarily monetarily, but donated via links and videos and things of that nature, and sound clips, okay, to inform me on this particular issue. So, I'm very grateful for you guys to bringing this stuff to my attention. And the more that you guys can actually donate to Titans TV, and again, I'm not saying that it needs to be monetary donation, but you're donating your time, your effort, your resources. You're sending me links and various different videos, and it's actually facilitating a grand show like this to actually take place. I'm educating myself, and I'm also educating our audience base. We've got over 45,000 people subscribed to Titans TV, and it's actually going out to that network basically based upon you guys, sending me over information so we can educate our audience. So again, I just want to give a quick shout out to you guys for actually supporting Titans TV. Thank you. All right, Kalam, can I get the same response from you in terms of the question? What brought you on Titans TV to talk about this particular topic?
Yes. I hope you can hear me well. All right. Yeah. What was my decision to comment on this panel? Because I remember the first time I reacted on your channel was during the postcode wars and what the youth is getting through. And you also reacted like, yeah, you don't know what's going on with the youth today, and what kind of situation they are. I'm trying to explain myself as best as I can, since English is not my first language, and I'm also not from England, but I feel very concerned. Also, this is on a global scale, and in the country where I live, I just want to give a short uh, uh, short what I've seen, experienced, reading in the paper and in the news about grooming gangs. They most of the time, um, yeah, grown up people, but nowadays you also have youngsters, uh, obviously younger, like being triggered as or being about to do pimping work to get as much as young girls get it, uh, to give them information, uh, and send these information to what we call these grooming gang leaders, or um, we call them lover boys. But it shocked me because these young boys are quite, they are highly educated. They use these young boys to and use their talents to do that work, to gather these young girls from the classrooms, from whatever social environment, to to get as much of these people into this this child traffic circuit. And I see that's I don't want to get in too much deep conspiracy, but I just want be here to share that concern. I also here to learn, and if I'm able, Kalam, thanks to the panel anyway that you share this. But and if I can share you some videos to your email, I will do that. Because I recently also saw videos about a woman being abused in the younger years, that actually has some connections to yeah, some shadow government and stuff. You know, that's the stuff that wears me, and that's the stuff like I want to know about. This is the stuff I'm talking about with people, and as much as it's reasonable, what seems to be reasonable to me, and that's how I educate myself. That's how I try to educate people as much as is possible in my power to do, as much as is possible. Yeah, you know, to make people aware, because you know people are able to forget very easily the day after, and this world is so complex, and this network of you know this like this deep web network is like going on. I don't know on how much big scale this is going on and affects younger people without being aware of how much it affects in our close environment. It could be your daughter, it could be your niece, it could be, you know, it could be my niece, it could be, go on, you can go on like that.
Yeah,
It affects us all.
definitely.
Thanks.
Now let me quickly get James on as well to discuss this.
Hello,
Yes, James, go ahead.
you hear me?
Same question to you, basically.
Could you repeat the question? Sorry, I've been in and out. I know it's on, I know what the
So
topic
basically,
is.
yeah. So basically, what brought you on Times TV to actually discuss this topic?
I've come on before, and obviously I like listening to your videos and whatnot, or watching your videos and whatnot. And on this specific topic, well, I have an opinion that's not necessarily contrary to other people's opinion, but it's quite individual. I guess should I explain it?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Cool. Well, basically, firstly, I think a lot of the issue surrounding it is people like ascribing some conspiracy to you know, like the social workers and the police in these northern towns or whatever, not taking, I guess, the threat seriously, or not taking the claim seriously. And I think a lot of that boils down to consent. I guess a lot of people are emotional about the topic, and they don't accept that for like a police force, it would be, and I'm not a fan of the police force, but I guess it would be difficult to prosecute with regards to consent. And then that would come down to, I guess, the age of vulnerability. But obviously, I'm not a Muslim, and I'm from London, and I know how the Metropolitan Police polices London. And if you're 13 years old and you do a burglary with a gang of boys that are maybe older than you, you're still going to get charged with a burglary. However, the sentence may be lighter, I'll give them that, but you're still going to be charged. Somehow you're not considered that vulnerable that you couldn't understand the crime you were doing. When it comes down to culture, so they say Muslim grooming gangs or Asian grooming gangs, or, I mean, the gang word, if you're a minority, you realize that's often attributed to just groups of people. So in a group, you're a gang, as opposed to a pedophile ring or so on and so forth. And I think a lot of the fear with making these kind of claims with regards to like consent and the girls being out on the streets late at night, like, for example, I have family members, and I'm of African descent. It would be very unlikely to see African girls being plied with drink and drugs, for the simple fact that they wouldn't, you know, even within their own friendship groups, they wouldn't be taking it. I think in a lot of these circumstances, and I'm not speaking for all of them, and it's abhorrent, but I think if you're comparing you know, a late night abduction in a park and a rape and a girl or man being assaulted to, you know, like a gray area of consent where, you know, the girl liked being in the company of 40-year-old, 50-year-old men. She wasn't a virgin at such a tender age. I think all of that, the culture surrounding that's pejorative in my opinion, would be her family or her network or her support prior to these crimes being committed. Don't blame the social workers for not reacting to her going missing for 3 weeks and maybe being found with a gang of Asian men. How about the fact that she was part in a family that allowed her to be out at 3 a.m. in the night with her pals, drinking, smoking? She is smoking at 13, 14. Because I think when it comes down to this vulnerability concept, I think let's not label people, but a lot of these people that are marching, generally white people, it seems, that are marching against this sort of thing, I don't think they accept the double standards when it comes to vulnerability. It's a lot of our girls and our this and our that. But it's like, yo, I was 13 the first time I got arrested. Oh, my friend was 12 when he got arrested, and it was for graffitiing. Imagine if he's not allowed to paint on a wall. You have so he's in a cell for however long. That's he's culpable for painting on a wall. But this little girl at 14, 15, we're saying some 15-year-old girls are vulnerable. She's out here drinking and smoking. She's got social media. She knows the internet. And I'm not blaming a victim, and I'm not a Muslim, so I don't give a shit about defending anyone personally. But the reality of it is that is a double standard by racist people. That's an interesting image.
Order.
Don't know where that come from, but yeah, that's being exploited by groups of people that essentially they don't view the double standard, and it's not a white supremacy, black whatever thing, but it's just a reality that the real problem, if we ever really want to address it, if this wasn't an obvious smear campaign, if it wasn't that, then what we'd actually be addressing is the lack of funding maybe for the social workers, the improper training that they're receiving in these sort of off the grid towns where clearly these families can't take care, like I don't mean to point a finger, but they can't take care of these kids. And if they were vulnerable, I feel that there'd be more, because I think this whole father and son, how many movies have we all grown up watching where some cool dad takes his son to a whorehouse and whatnot, and that's okay, it's okay when it's in that, but that's essentially what these little kids are. Because and this is the horrible to say, and I know you can't say it because I'm more anonymous than you, so I can say it. But if you can be a 13-year-old burglar, if you can be a 13-year-old murderer, if you can get an IPP when you're 16 years old, and we're not sure if this kid's going to be safe when he comes back on the streets, then how can you not be a 13-year-old prostitute or 14-year-old prostitute or 15-year-old prostitute? If your family is letting you out of the house, it doesn't mean that a 50-year-old man driving past in his car, or 30-year-old or 29-year-old or 27-year-old, would you let your little sister say that she had a 20-year-old boyfriend when she was 17 even? I'd say that's weird. Me personally, I know that's people wouldn't agree, but so like how it can't be these people would go. These people regularly frequent brothels and so on and so forth. They're degenerates, and there always will be degenerates on this planet. I guarantee you that. So, the fact that you're leaving your kids to be preyed upon by such people, and definitely the issue, I think these people should be charged in sentences. I'm not unhappy with the sentences they get, but I definitely am unhappy with the media coverage they get. And with regards to like attributing it to any Islamic policy, I don't believe in any. I'm atheistic, with regards to like religious beliefs or whatever. I don't. They're not at the forefront of my mind. I don't believe in stuff. But I think that's an obvious smear campaign. It's obviously demonizing, and the issue is, in my opinion, is being exaggerated greatly, for the simple fact that the real people that are to blame are the parents and those people that are responsible for keeping these kids safe prior to them engaging with these nefarious individuals. That's me done.
All right. So my brother's just come in and just open up a massive wormhole. It's gotten very controversial right now. Family tree. I'm going to quickly say this. Unfortunately, anytime we speak on topics such as this, especially pertaining to Islam, we tend to get a lot of trolls coming in. All right, we get a lot of trolls coming in that's usually tried to hack the system or tried to come on and show porn or do a lot of madness. Okay, and I'm going to have to apologize to the listening audience or the viewers who are going to be, how can I put it? You're going to be, opened up to these types of individuals. I have to apologize again and again for this. Unfortunately, because this is an open platform where we post the link online for everybody to kind of join in. We have these individuals that literally watch Titans TV religiously, and they claim to be, the massive, they claim to not watch Titans TV, or they claim to hate watching Titans TV. Most of the times where you see our shows come on and you see most of the dislikes, it is coming from these types of trolls. So I'm apologizing for you in advance. And also, family, I want to get your voices heard. So if any of you guys would like to come on now, you would have to actually email me, because the link has been taken off from the description box down below. And so that's the situation that we're actually in right now. I kind of got sidetracked real quickly, but you know, what I would like to do actually is share my screen and kind of share with you guys something that I was. Um, hold on. Let me mute your mic actually. Yeah, yeah, that's it. Just keep your mics muted. All right, I actually wanted to share this with you guys real quickly so I can get you kind of steer this conversation back into a way that will be productive. So right now I'm actually reading from what am I reading from? Real quickly. So someone has actually sent me over. I believe it's the liberal guy has actually sent me over Peter McLaughlin's Easy Meat: Multiculturalism, Islam, and Child Sex Slavery. All right, and there's a very fascinating section right here called the grooming gang phenomenon. I'm actually going to be an advocate for you guys actually purchasing this book if you're actually interested in this topic, because it seems to be quite in depth. It's got quite a lot of good reviews, and by skim reading this, it seems to be, you know, very, very informative, and it's a must-have, you know, for any of us who are actually talking about this subject. Is informative. Right here, it's the grooming gang phenomenon. One schoolgirl was still so frightened of her attacker that she initially refused to give evidence for fear he would hurt her again. She had been raped and prostituted at 11 by a man who bought her little gifts and showed her the first affection she had known. So this is from the Daily Express in 2013. Okay, Daily Express, this is what was reported. Now let's quickly continue on. It says here, one of the defining features of this crime is the ethnic/cultural homogeneity of the gang members and the refusal of other members of their community to speak out about them or to condemn their behavior. The gangs are often made up of brothers and members of their extended family who take part in the grooming and or rape of the schoolgirls. In both Britain and the Netherlands, the gangs appear to be overwhelmingly men who are Muslim through the doctrine of multiculturalism enforced via political correctness. The gangs in Britain were basically operating with impunity between 1988 and 2009. You know, but you know, it says here between those years, but it seems that it even goes back, you know, 40 years. We've had accounts from the Sikh community to actually state that this has been going back since the 70s and possibly even the late 60s. These types of things were actually taking place, but nobody were taking them seriously. So there's quite a few documentaries out there. I give thanks to Raj, who's actually sent me a few of those documentaries, old school documentaries speaking on this issue, going way beyond those years. Anyway, let's quickly continue. Typically, the gangs target young girls aged between 11 and the gangs want virgin. Is it? Seems like it just okay. The gangs want virgins who are free of sexual disease. Most of the men buying sex with the girls have Muslim wives, and they don't want to risk infection. Whew. The younger you look, the more saleable you are. The schoolgirls they target are overwhelmingly non-Muslim, while the gangs are overwhelmingly Muslim. The girls are often lured into the clutches of the gang using a young Muslim man who befriends or seduces the girl. None of this is accidental. Here we are not talking about cross-cultural romantic relationships. What is so unusual about this disparity in ethnicity is that mostly Muslims in Britain have little or no interaction with the indigenous population. The groomings and abuse was said to be systematic, tactical, and repetitive. The defendants had family or friendship links. Younger boys were the girls' initial point of contact. The schoolgirl will be given money and presents, flattered by compliments, and by being taken into a world of adults. She will be introduced to drugs and alcohol, and once she is manipulated into the initial alluring youth as her boyfriend, she will be persuaded, coerced into having sex with his relatives or friends. From there, it is a downward spiral of rape and prostitution, often with the schoolgirls suffering severe mental and physical pain. Even torture if the girl tries to escape. The gang will punish her with various forms of physical and mental abuse, threats, and intimidation, and even brutal violence. The pimps even use pregnancy as a form of punishment. I want to just quickly stop it there and kind of bring it back. You know, that is very alarming and very shocking. So I want to discuss this. I want to discuss this in depth, and I would love for you guys who are well abreast or well informed on this topic to come on and actually express your views on this. I'm kind of leaving it open right now, where we can kind of steer the conversation in any way that you, the panel members, choose to. So, the liberal guy, can I get you to come on and give us a few words itself? So, my question to you is this: what on Times TV today to actually to discuss this topic, and let me know what you would like to discuss as well.
Yeah, hello, Kalam. I just need a couple of minutes. I'm getting a couple of studies ready just to contribute with things that you guys haven't touched on. So give me a moment. Maybe someone else wants to speak before me.
All right, fantastic. So let me get Nikki Dudley. Nikki, are you here?
Yo.
I'll ask you the same question.
Can you hear me, bro?
Yeah, I can. So what brought you on Times TV to actually discuss this topic? And also, what topic would you like us to address?
I was just listening in, but basically, I just wanted to comment on the last guy's comment. The last guy, well, no, not the last guy to speak. The guy before, sorry. Where he's basically saying that, the parents need to take more responsibility and watch their kids more. But I think, yeah, that's all good, yeah, but it still doesn't change the fact that there's large groups of Pakistani and Bangladeshi men out there that are preying on young girls. And basically,
I agree with what you're saying. I don't disagree with what you're saying at all.
It still doesn't change that fact. Like, either way, there's still going to be gangs of, Pakistani and Bangladeshi men out there preying on young girls, isn't it?
So then the question would be then, like, if I was to say, if you have, I don't know if you have kids, but let's just assume you do, yeah. Hypothetically, if you have kids, are you gonna be looking out? Are you gonna be extra vigilant for Pakistani men now? Like wherever your little girl goes, are you just gonna be extra vigilant for Pakistani men? Is that how you're gonna? Because there's rapists everywhere. Like I would imagine, there's rapists in every community. So the fact that this has media coverage, that's why we're speaking about it now. There's murderers everywhere. I imagine there's thieves everywhere. There's serial killers. Like it's hard to distinguish them without knowing, their intentions or after the fact. But the fact that this is in the forefront, even that, like the information Kalam was just bringing now, I don't disagree with that, with any of that. But what I do disagree with is there's clearly. And people are scared to say it. Stop saying Muslims, because you're not talking about Arabs and Bahrainians, or you're talking about Pakistanis and Bangladeshi. So say what you feel. If you think there's an issue with Pakistani and Bangladeshi culture, you could be right. You're probably right. My issue is the fact that it's mainstream. Like when the percentages are all comparatively, then it becomes a bit strange when you're saying, well, what I'm scared of is a Pakistani man outside my house. Anybody that's a parent here, if you're telling me that your child, there is even the potential that your child could be groomed, not kidnapped and raped, because that could happen, I guess, to anyone, God forbid. But you're saying groomed, then you're a shitty parent, and you've got a shitty, like you're living in a shitty world, you've created a shitty world for yourself. If that's the reality. We're talking groomed, we're talking plied. Even all of these statistics and shock tactics saying, oh, the girl's 11, they could be as young as 9. What fucking 9-year-old? What fit like? I don't. Maybe I'm Londoner. Maybe I'm lucky. Maybe I'm because I'm. And I'll be honest. That maybe is stuff I need to be educated on. But living in London, I personally, and I've grown up on estates, right? I don't know if anyone's. I've known a lot of young girls that were out late at night, and they were usually with us, and maybe they got into other people's cars, and we we're like, oh, that you see what she's doing there. And they weren't from good families. There wasn't anyone that I'd say came from a respectable home.
Yeah, of course,
that would even be allowed to do that. So how could it not be? And if we're actually trying to address it rather than just demonize or bitch and moan about what's wrong with the planet, if we're trying to, then what we should be channeling our fury towards these social workers who are meant to step in when the family breaks down. Like that's
what I like about what James is saying is that he's essentially saying there is a problem with these people that are raising children or having children, and then basically, maybe they have their own issues or they have drug issues, which is what usually happens, and then the kids are left alone. The kids might end up in social housing, and then they're very open to or vulnerable to being groomed. which is, I appreciate that. That's a 100% true valid.
Yeah, that's the thing, though, isn't it? Just
Me as
because
a person,
they're open to that.
One second. If I was gonna, I don't have kids yet, but if I was to have kids, then I'm gonna fully make sure that I'm in a situation financially and in an environment where I'm gonna give them that the best that they can have. So that's me personally. But obviously, there is people out there that have children, they end up on the street, and they end up getting groomed. So what we have to question, who does most of the blame lie on?
And can I just, and then the gang part is very, like, if you are from a community that whenever you're together in a group of people are referred to as a gang, that's what, because I'm not Muslim, I don't think Pakistani culture is a great culture. I don't think I don't consider any human being, be it prophets, whatever, are perfect individuals. I don't agree with none of that. But I'm just saying, if people in my community are often referred to as gangs. If a group of me and my friends do something, it's usually referred to as, there's usually laws specific for what we've done, conspiracies and so on and so forth. So I feel like whenever things are broadcast in the media like this, I feel like it's everybody's duty to be objective, because, granted, if you're a white gentleman in this country, then a lot of the perception that protects you, a lot of these, like if you refer to someone in a ring or a gang, it's obviously a lot more sophistication attributed to being part of a ring. And of course, if you're a white gentleman,
the grooming gangs are a Muslim problem.
Personally, I wouldn't agree. I would agree. Maybe a Pakistani or a.
At the end of the day, you don't see Chinese grooming gangs, you don't see Japanese or Polish grooming gangs. This does seem specifically to be coming from the central South Asian community, e.g. Pakistani,
Muslims,
Bangladeshi. And if we look at Pakistan, what is Pakistan called? Pakistan is called the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. So they follow a very extreme form. I remember watching the videos a couple months ago of a uni student being beat to death by students in the same uni because he was atheist. Beat to death by 20
one
men.
of the judge Gerald Clinton, he wrote a statement regarding the grooming gangs and how they were acting, the ones that got convicted, and he said, all of you treated them as though they were worthless and beyond any respect. One of the factors leading to that was the fact that they were not part of your community or religion. And we can see in the Quran, chapter 3, verse 110, where it states, you are the best of peoples ever raised up for mankind. This is Allah talking about the Muslims. And in chapter 98, verse 6, it calls Christians and Jews and the polytheists, the pagans, the worst of all creatures. So a Muslim can easily read the Quran, 3 verses, and they will think, the kuffars are easy picking for us, innit? They're not classed as, they're lower than kettle. And this is what the judge saw, this is what I see, and this is what the Quran tells them to do. So,
can I just kind of piggyback on the back of that? I would say it's, if you live in a Western country or whatever, or you go by Western values, we can kind of see that from the standpoint of living in the West, right? That Muslims generally don't treat women the way Western people treat women, right? So that's why there's a lot of people say, "Oh, ban the burqa" and all this kind of stuff. You have in the Quran, it will actually state that women or female babies were buried alive in the desert, right? When they would give birth to them. So they didn't want a female to bury the female alive. So what it shows to me is that there's a culture within Islam that doesn't value females in general. Okay. And then if you have piggyback on what the back of the guy says about the Quran actually saying that, the kuffar and, the people that aren't Muslim are not as good as other Muslims, then you've got a double-edged sword now. You've got a psychology that says women I don't really value them anyway. And then secondly, these are women from that are not Islamic. So of course there will be easy pickings for them.
Sarah coming with the hard facts.
I think
You're about to get a whole bunch of people emotional.
Yeah, but that's just standard, isn't it? But what I'm what I'm trying to say is that there's a context to this, okay? And so I've said to people, I don't care about a child molester's religion, color, or creed. I personally don't care. To me, a child molester is a child molester. Okay, and we have a lot of conversations we already know within Islam, or you've probably seen me have conversations with them when I say to them, we talk about the Aisha situation, and then the rebuttal is, yeah, but what's a child, right? And so what you have to understand there, that kind of psychology, yeah, but what is a child, is part of the reason that breeds this kind of stuff. Because if you have to ask the question as an adult, yeah, what is a child, then there's something wrong with your psychology. If you can't see a child and know that's a child, then what's wrong with you? Don't ask me what a child is. You damn well know what a child is. You're asking that question for the purpose of an argument to justify a position. So a child molester to me is a child molester. Even if you say peace be upon him after the name, it's still a child molester to me. Do you know what I'm saying?
Amen.
They might give this child molester some kind of other status, but a child molester is a child molester, and he could be a black one, a white one, a Pakistani one, or whatever. So, but what in context, you have to try and understand the way in which people think within the religion to try and understand why they do it. Because, like I said, I've had so many conversations with Muslims talking about, just the Prophet Muhammad having sex with a 9-year-old, and the fierce stance I get. Like the amount of arguments I get trying to come back at me as to why it's okay for him to do it makes me look at these people and say, you really shouldn't have children in your care.
Kalam, can I come in?
Wait
It's
a
sickening. Sickening.
Go on in a little while. I'm going to ask everybody, can you guys mute your mics? And I'm going to have to run you guys through the rules of Titans TV. We've got 3 rules over here, okay? First rule is please keep your mics muted at all times. Second rule is, please respect your panel members as well. They're your fellow Titans, so please respect them. Once they're speaking, please do not interrupt their cipher. Third rule is, please, no ad hominems, no swearing, no abuse, nothing like that. This is a family-friendly show, okay? Family-friendly show. I've been allowing a lot of slack to go, throughout the show because it is a very emotional or emotive topic. I've allowed it to happen, but I know we've got a lot of people from conflicting ideals and views. So please, I'm going to ask you guys to respect, our panel members, respect our audience, and most fundamentally of all, please respect yourselves. Raj, I know you wanted to come back on something, so I'm going to quickly bring you there, and then I'm going to get Saracen on afterwards, and I'm going to direct the show in a particular fashion after that. So, please, Raj, speak up.
Yeah, I've heard quite a lot, and one of the guys, I'm not sure if it's the first guy that spoke, James. I'm not sure what his name is, but I hear a lot of kind of victim scapegoating, and I understand like people are saying that you have vulnerable kids, and what are they doing, kind of walking about? But ask yourself why. Does a grown ass man think it's okay to rape a girl just because she's out at like 11 or 12 o'clock? You got to start asking that first, not why is she out. Like obviously we know going out at that particular time isn't a good thing, but if you start with the question why is she out and not why is she being raped, then there's something wrong in your head. Yeah, you've got to stop thinking like this, because I'm sick and tired of people excusing behaviours that are savagery. Like if you behave like a savage, then you should just like either be put in prison or just get out of the country. I'm walking around at night time and I see like an 11-year-old girl thinking, oh, she's out. Oh, let me rape her. Yeah, what is the problem with that? What are you thinking? So the guys that say these excuses, because I hear this all the time, you are the problem. Yeah, you are the problem because you're not thinking properly. There is something in your mind that thinks that when a girl's out at a particular time, that she is up for being abused. Yeah, it's their parents' fault. Yeah, it's this and that. Not that it might be the fact that the person who's doing it is messed in the head and they have no moral compass. Yeah, they do not understand that a young woman walking around doesn't deserve to be raped because she's out or she's vulnerable and this. Tackle that first. So I'm sick and tired of this. Another thing Sarah touches upon, there is a big problem within the Muslim community when it comes to age. I've seen this a lot myself personally. When I talk about my cousin saying she's 14, I've had people say, "Oh well, she knew what she was doing, didn't she?" And I'm like, dude, she's 14. Think about it. And even very sensible, normal, what you call reasonable Muslims have this particular perception of age, which is very different from everybody else. I'm not going to say why. Sarah's touched upon that. I think their idea of maturity is different to us. And so what happens is obviously when they meet a girl that's 14, we may perceive her to be somebody who's growing and not mentally capable of making decisions. But to them, they see her as a grown-ass woman. And that, you know, if she gets manipulated and raped and stuff, oh, fair game. She should know better. So this is a very big, massive cultural problem, religious problem, everything kind of mixed in. I've explained to you, Kalam, before. I mean, I'm not sure if you agree with me. You can say yes or no about my toxic mix theory. I think it's a mix of a load of three separate things. And I still stand by that particular theory because I think that's the thing that actually makes sense to me the most. And another thing is this: not all of the families that have been affected are due to girls come from broken families. There are families, even like my cousin was not from a broken family, from a very well-structured family, from a quite affluent family, from a religious family, and a lot of some of these other girls that have been affected are not. It's probably around 60% very vulnerable and 40% from what I know is like the girls are just insecure. So a girl being insecure is normal for a girl of 14. You don't then go out there because she thinks she's ugly or she's insecure and start manipulating her and pimping her out and prostituting her out. Now, if you think that's a normal behavior, you just need to be chucked out of this country, full stop. Yeah, I don't want people like this walking around with my if I had a kid and they're walking around, I have to worry about monsters like these people. So the guy that first talked, don't know who you are, or whatever your motives are, whatever you are, and this is not ad hominem attack, start rethinking the way you are thinking at the moment. Because if you think what you said before was normal, and reasonable, you are the problem then. That's all I got to say for now.
All right, thank you very much.
I'd just like to add, so we've assumed that the girls are out at late time, but what's actually turns out to be the case is the girls are befriended at appropriate times actually, and not only that, but the girls were also being dropped.
Talking about? What are you talking about?
Relax, man.
You to just be quiet.
Relax.
1 second.
Get that stick out your ass. So,
all right. So let me get you
not
guys.
Only that, not only that, but the girls were also being dropped off back at home at the correct times. Do you comprehend that? So not only is it the opposite of these girls being outside at times that they're not meant to be, not only is it the opposite of that, they're being brought back home at exactly the times they're meant to be. So no one's none the wiser.
No. All right. So I've got a question.
Okay. Every one of these girls is being brought back on time. Is that what you're saying?
Nikki, I'm going to get you guys to just mute your mics real quickly. I've got a question actually to ask. I wanted to know, for those of you guys who are coming from, Asian communities, I actually want to know, back home in your country, what is the, the age or the normal age or the average age that, young boys and girls or boys and girls or girls, for example, are being married off at? I want to know, is this something cultural as well? So back home in Pakistan or Asia or Bangladesh or whatever the case is, what is the average age of marriages?
Can I jump in on that?
Are you from an Asian background?
No, but I just got some statistics here I can screen share.
Go ahead, tell me.
All right, let me just screen share this. Can you see my screen, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So it's estimated that 21% of girls in Pakistan are married before the age of 18. Child marriages in Pakistan is connected with tradition, culture, and customary practices. So that's 21% of girls. Now I did a little thing here. Demographics of Pakistan. There is 15. Let me get this. Yeah, under 15, female 1.056, 15 to 64 years, 60.4%. So if we're just going to take an average here from these statistics here, 0 to 14 years, so female 33 million. So it's 33 million girls in Pakistan that are 0 to 14 years old. And if we just did 20%,
that's disgusting.
If we did 20% of 33 million of girls that are 0 to 14 years old, and 21% are married under the age of 18, that's 6 million. So we can. It's probably a bit gross, but we can probably call it, give or take, that number around there. So that's what I was going to interject there.
Can I just say that if anyone's noticed, when you get to the young girls being married off, they're never married off because if I'm guessing if the argument is, oh, they're old enough for marriage now, I'm guessing that's the argument, then why they're not married to somebody that they're their own age? You know, like if you're 14, why is a girl not marrying another 14-year-old? Why does a guy have to be 30 years age, 30-year-old?
Because the guy's got money.
Right. So this is what I'm trying to say. So it becomes a very patriarchal, male-dominated, basically child molestation type scenario, because it's not the fact that she's old enough to marry, it's the fact that an older man wants to marry a younger girl.
How do they even do that if the legal age for marriage over there is like 16? So clearly ain't listening to that shit.
So Raj, I don't know if you have any numbers or figures or just like your own experience.
My own experience is you talking about the age of marriage for kids or for people? Yeah, I mean I've never really met anybody that's been married before 16, 17. It's average now that I know of, because a lot of guys from the UK get married from girls from India. They're normally in their 20s. A lot of them are educated. So obviously if you go to a little kind of village somewhere, they might marry off a 14-year-old with another 14-year-old. But it's not, I've never heard of cases where you've got a grown-ass man that's in his 30s marrying like a 14-year-old. They're normally either the same age, similar age, or if you go to the more kind of prosperous areas, they're now marrying in their 20s or thingy. So I think within the Sikh community and in my community, I've never really heard about this kind of stuff per se. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I've not heard of it.
All right. I'm going to get Saracen in and ask him the same question. I know he wants to go off on his own tangent as well. So after he's answered that question, Saracen, you have my permission to go off on your tangent. So go ahead, Saracen.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Do you want me to answer? Is there a question that you want me to answer, or do you want me to go off on my tangent?
So yeah, I want you to answer the question of what is the average age group back home in Pakistan or those regions where young girls or women are actually being married off.
I think it's a broad question, because Pakistan is a very, very big country. Within that, you've got lots of ethnic diversity within there. You've got different cultural diversity, you've got different class diversity. So if you're talking about places like in the villages, it's often very young. So girls, maybe 13, 14, 15. I know.
How about the government law, brother? The government law.
Don't interrupt. Let me remember the rules of Titans TV, brother. So yeah, if you ask middle class Pakistanis or upper class Pakistanis, they get married far later, probably up until the 30s, some of them, and even later. So it depends on that. And I think if you go to India, Bangladesh, subcontinent, you go Africa, generally you got to factor in social class, and you have to factor those sort of factors in. And I think that's important, because when we talk about some of the Pakistani communities that have come into England, you'll see a lot of them came from very rural backgrounds. The middle class, upper class Pakistanis did not come, by and large, in the 1960s and 70s. So there is a cultural element to that. But let me know when I can go off on my tangent.
I just wanted to know what the legal age in Pakistan is, what the government says for the whole of the country. There's a government law, the main law of Pakistan, and you still didn't say that.
I'm born and raised in England, so I can't 100% tell you. I believe it's 16. I could be wrong.
Yeah, the legal age is 16, bro.
That's what the question was.
Yeah, the legal age is 16.
All right. So now I'm going to get Saracen to go off on his tangent. I'm going to say, family members, please, I'm going to ask you guys to mute your mic. He's going to say certain things that I know. He's going to rile you up. Be patient, listen to him, and before you respond, construct a well-reasoned response to what he has to say. Go ahead, Saracen.
Thank you, Kalam. So, Kalam, I've sent you some links. If you could help me out, I've sent it to your Facebook thing if you, to demonstrate my point. I think it's important that we get a fair discussion on this. And being the only Pakistani Muslim on here, I think it's important that people try to understand my opinion. And it is an emotive topic, and it should be. But there's also a lot of ill-informed people who are skewing the information, and as this information goes worldwide on Titans TV, we live, baby, we live. We need to not demonize people on this. First of all, the first thing I like to say is, as a Pakistani Muslim, I condemn absolutely categorically what's happening, and we do have a problem within the Pakistani community. I do not believe this is a Muslim problem, but I do believe that there is a cultural problem within the Pakistani community, and we must talk about it. And I think this is a big, big thing. Now, I don't usually talk about what I do. But some of you guys know me from Speaker's Corner, but I've got a very high-profile job in the Midlands, and I work on issues such as this: community cohesion. My actual boss is a policeman. I work in a police station. I deal with grooming gangs regularly, so I'm not ill-informed on this sort of issue, and I'd like to share this information with you purely because one of my roles is to talk about this and to get Muslims, Pakistanis, if you want to call it, to discuss these issues. So I'm going to mosques, I'm going to gurdwaras, going to temples, I'm going to the white community, the working class community, and we're having those discussions. So this is a big, big issue, and this is a big, big thing as part of my work. Now, what I want to say is this: that this has become a political issue and it's being exploited, and it's very, very dangerous, because you are not getting large groups of Somali men or Arab men doing this. And as I said, you are getting Pakistani men, and they are targeting some people, vulnerable. The key thing is they're targeting vulnerable people, vulnerable girls. Now, they so happen to be white. Yes, that's true. Sikh. Yes, that's true. But also Muslim. So I don't know if you could share that first link, the BBC article that I sent you, Kalam. Is that possible? So whilst Kalam's it, so this is a Muslim girl this is a BBC News article. You can check it out. She talks about grooming that's happening in there. Now, as someone that deals with this on a daily basis, this is happening on a mass scale amongst Muslim girls. So it's not just a British or white problem in Pakistani. These scumbags are targeting a number of Muslim, and I dealt with hundreds of these girls, but they do not come out due to the shame culture. Similarly with this, there's more Sikh victims as well. They're not coming out. If you could, there was another link that I sent you, a couple of pictures, Kalam, as well, in the same thing. If you want to read a really good report, there's one by the Muslim Women's Network, lady called Shaista Gori, and this actually gives you. You don't want to read ghetto books, sensationalist books like the one Kalam was sent, Easy Meat. It's nonsense. There's half truths in there, mixed with sensationalism and ghetto scholarship. This is a real report. This talks about how these disgusting vile gangs, and it's linked to organized crime, it's linked to the nighttime industry, it's linked to cultural issues within the social class of those people. It goes through that and it talks about how they befriend. If that's free, you can type that in. Muslim Women's Network, Grooming Gangs. It's a comprehensive report from 2014. So it's important that people are really informed on this. It's important that we also make sure that this isn't exploited to be a Muslim problem. And I think that's the danger here, because we're getting people who are now saying, oh, look, these are Muslims and they're coming. It's a whole narrative. It's an industry that's selling, and it's selling big time. But, unfortunately, here's what happens. You get people, and I think Sarah is an example of this. Oh, your prophet married a 6-year-old. Muslims are grooming. This sexual perversion is somehow natural to Muslims. The people who often defend that hadith, I'll tell you, are the least people, or the people the Salafis, are some of the most conservative Muslims. They will not do any of these grooming gangs. They won't even sit in the same room as some of the women, let alone abuse them. Most of the guys that are carrying out this disgusting, vile act, and remember, within the Pakistani community, you get good people and you get bad people, just like everything else. But most of the people that are not religious at all, they don't give two shits about religion. Let's be honest, they don't know about their religion. Some of them are drug dealers. Some of them are they're just looking for a good time, and that is an issue that we need to discuss. It's not being discussed in the mosque. But here's the danger. And Kalam, if you could share the link of the Pakistani cab driver that I sent you. So whilst Kalam looks for the link, what we're seeing now is that there's a culture being created around Pakistani men. And this is not something new. In the 1920s and 1930s, there was this hype about black men, hypersexualized black men attacking white women. So this is an old tactic. And this poor man, taxi driver, was accused falsely of being a rapist, and luckily his phone saved him. But we're seeing cases where Pakistani men now are being falsely accused of things. So for me, of course, it's going to affect me directly, and it's important that we have a very reasoned debate about this. And I congratulate the brother at the start, the black brother who's not a Muslim, who said this very clearly. We got to have an open debate about this. Now, I'm working in Raj. I'm going to invite you, hopefully, to come to the Midlands. And we want people to hear your story. We want people to hear the stories of victims. And we want to have an open discussion about this. But I reiterate, this is not a Muslim problem. Possibly a cultural problem, yes. Social class problem within the Pakistani community. And within the Pakistani community, there's a certain group within that, yes. But I think it's important to have this discussion. And there are many, like I said, many Muslim girls who are having these issues as well. And hopefully we can open the debate up a little bit more now.
Callum, can I jump in really quickly? Is there no more moderator?
Go ahead.
I just want to say, when you guys were bringing out the statistics and that, I agree, and I may not be that well versed. There may be some like cultural discrepancies. Let's say there may be issues but I think the reason I chose to speak and I'm in some agreements with him, the last gentleman that just spoke, is there is a lot of, be it female genital mutilation and be it child brides or whatever. There is maybe a lot of issues that you could link to the religion, and I'm not affirming or denying that would be the case. And anyone that is more learned on the topic can maybe bring some facts and statistics. However, with regards to the sensationalism of what's going on right now, I think my sister said it to me recently, which was, it's more the issue of an outrage or histrionics due to sort of the defacing of white femininity. And if anyone that's an ethnic minority on the panel would understand and agree with me that that's really where the outrage lies. And when we see people lining up in the streets, it's not for again, like the examples I used, be it honor killings, child brides, female genital mutilation. They're not saying that Islam is wrong for this, and they're saying because our children. And that our children phrase, in my opinion, they're clutching at straws, because if a lot of these cases were people in these towns actually physically just grabbing these girls from nowhere, and people never seeing them again, and not necessarily being murdered, but actually, like, I think it's an insult to actual genuine rape victims, girls who do protect themselves, who are responsible in their lives, who do end up in situations like that through zero fault of their own and their family. I think it's an insult to those families if you compare them, if you say it's the same thing. Because if we're looking for a solution and we're not just looking to bash people in the world, then, and the gentleman said he said I was being a bit stupid in the way that basically that I want girls to get raped. I think was the point he made. I want kids to get, no, but the logic is I don't know someone's a rapist until he rapes the person. I don't know that. But what I do know is if this child is protected, that it would be an impossibility. And these men, as I said earlier, will go to brothels. They are deviants anyway. And whether they're Muslim, whatever, these people are deviants, and throw the book at them, give them whatever sentence you want. But they're only able, like, if we're trying to actually prevent this if we're trying to prevent what's happening here, if this is genuine and we're not here just to bash people, then the reality is we'd have to look inward, because and you're letting these families off the hook if their kids can be out to God knows how long. They can use drugs, they can abuse this, and then at the end it's just a Muslim guy's problem, or it's just an Asian guy's problem. And like I said, if that is the case, if the statistics were so overwhelming that it wasn't, then I would accept it. But the fact that it's white femininity that's held on a pedestal, and anything that even scratches the surface is essentially we're meant to be outraged by. But a black girl who's come from Somalia can have her vagina mutilated, and that's not the biggest issue with Islam. That's not the biggest problem. Or a woman can be married in Pakistan, and Pakistanis are bad because they drive around in Vauxhalls and whistle at 14-year-old girls. That's ridiculous, and that just affirms that double standard. Someone was confused about why I said double. That affirms that double standard that we all, us minorities, if you're not a minority, you might not get what I'm saying, but we all live through that. We all know that it's fair for you, not fair for us.
Can I try and bring it back to psychology?
Yes, you definitely. Hold on.
Sorry, go on, Kalam.
Sorry. Before you do, Saracen, you actually posted up this link to me that I shared on the screen. But is it possible to get the link itself to actually download it and share it?
Sure, I'll send it to you now.
Thanks. Okay, Sarah, let's get it back in.
Yeah, I wanted to bring it back to psychology, and I always talk about the things that people hold dear and the value systems that people have. So we're dealing with a psychology of a people. We're not just dealing with individuals. The psychology of Islam in general covers their women. Okay, so men cover the women. Women must be covered. They say it's to do with the religion and all these kind of things. However, they will cover, depending on what country you go, they will cover a girl from a certain young age. Now, there are countries where if a woman isn't properly covered, she's seen as a provocateur to men, okay? She's seen as somebody who's trying to entice a man, depending on what part of her body isn't covered. If you come from a psychology that believes that women should be covered, and if they don't cover up, then they have some kind of slutty or whorish way about them. If you come to a Western country, right, where the girls are not covered up, and your psychology is women must be covered up, otherwise they're trying to provoke me, right? You come to the UK, or you come to America, or you come to any Western country and women aren't covered up, your mind is doing backflips. Okay, you're seeing ankles, you're seeing, legs, you're seeing breasts out, and you now have to suppress your sexual urges, because what it seems like is that this is a psychological issue. Because I've said to people on so many occasions, you can have tribes in the Amazon rainforest in Africa with women walking around bare-breasted and they're not being raped. Okay, they're not being molested, they're not being raped because of the psychology of the people that are looking at them. The men that are looking at these women don't have a psychology of, oh my God, look at the breasts. Oh my God, look at the ankles. They don't have that psychology. Whereas these people have a different psychology as to how they view the woman's body. So when the woman's body is on show, it is, in their mind, provoking them. And we really need to deal with the fact that there's a clash of psychologies here, which is why these kind of things happen also.
Yeah, if you look at the thing that happened in Germany, where New Year's Eve, I think it was 2017 or 16, where obviously Germany had accepted a lot of refugees and migrants from Middle Eastern backgrounds. I know this debate is trying to go into the way of, is it a Pakistani problem or is it a Muslim problem? But I'm just going to interject here with this, is that a lot of people from Muslim countries came to Germany, and then I think it was Cologne, on the night of the New Year's celebrations, you had something like 1,200 girls that were sexually assaulted, and they all claimed that the men were obviously not German and of a foreign migrant background. So if people are going to be going into the debate about is it a Pakistani or is it a Muslim problem, we got to think about this as well, is that obviously what happened in Germany is that men were coming from not only Pakistani countries, but from Muslim countries, and that happened. So obviously going into what Sarah said, is it the psychology behind a country or behind the religion? And I'm just going to screen share this quickly from the Independent newspaper. Where is it? The Guardian. 1 second. Daily Mail. Yeah, here we go. Which one was it? Here we go. Independent. As a teenager, I was taken to various houses and flats above takeaways in north of England to be beaten, tortured, and raped over 100 times. I was called a white slag, white cunt. They made it clear that because I was non-Muslim and not a virgin, and because I didn't dress modestly, that they believed I deserved to be punished. And they said I had to obey or be beaten. So that's the info.
Can I come back on that?
All right. No, 1 second. Actually, how can I put it? What's the word now? I'm gonna do a quick survey and poll out our panel members real quickly. So we've got two opposing views so far. I believe there may be a third. If there is a third or fourth, please introduce it whilst I'm polling you guys, because I want to know, is this a Pakistani problem or Asian problem? Pakistani/Asian problem, or is it an Islamic problem? Okay, what is causing this to take place? Saracen, what is it?
I think there's a certain social class of Pakistanis that make up the majority of Pakistanis in our country. And I believe that's the problem. I do not think this is a Muslim problem. But I think things get spewed when I come back with what Sarah said.
All right. Pause right there. So just quick answers, please, everybody. So Saracen's saying it's a Pakistani problem of a particular social class, but let me just say Pakistani problem just to keep it broad. Sarah, what is it?
As I said before, it's a psychological problem. It's the fact that we're dealing with a people who generally view the female body differently from the people from the society that they live in. And I think anything can actually rise out of you viewing something totally different from the other people. So I would say in these, I guess I would call them sexually repressed countries, where they attempt to repress the woman's sexuality or cover the woman up based off of male sexual dominance. You see, based off of male sexual, I'm going to cover you up because I can't control my own sexual urges. So you need to cover yourself up, okay? It's because I'm basically a rapist at heart. So you need to cover yourself up. That's the psychology. Okay. And so when you have that psychology permeating through the whole of the spectrum of the religion, then you are going to get things like this. It just depends on which place you go to.
Right. Question to you.
Sorry, Kalam, what was the question?
Is this a Pakistani problem or Asian problem slash? Yeah, is this a Pakistani slash Asian problem, or is this a Islamic problem?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I'm trying to figure out. This is why I've come into the show, and everyone in the panel has a different opinion. So I'm really trying to put the facts together, put the evidence together. Because obviously, what I just said is I came out with the Germany example, which would indicate it would be a Muslim problem because they're not all the people there that committed the sexual assaults are not from. And then, for example, I think some people in the chat were talking about Sweden. Obviously, a lot of them, the people in there that are committing the rapes, are also not from Pakistan. But in England, it does seem to be solely from Pakistan, Bangladesh. So this is what I'm trying to figure out. Is it come from culture, Islamic, the psychology behind the culture and the religion? This is what I'm trying to figure out myself.
All right, thank you. Nikki, same question to you.
I'm kind of on the fence with this one, bro, to be honest. But I'm going to say it's a Muslim problem because you've got the majority that are Pakistani and Bangladeshi, but you've also got others scattered in there like Moroccan, Somalian, African, all different kinds. So I'm kind of on the fence, but I'm going to say more Islamic.
All right. Kalam, same question to you.
I think you cannot. I think it's both. You cannot actually divide them because if you next to the Muslim problem, also look at Asia. You look at India, for example. They marry at 12 years old. Recently, you have news about rapes victims in buses and bus traffic, train traffic. From the other side, you have to consider that in Muslim countries that used to be prior to the Islam, were like Persia, they didn't have all the burqa wearings, and it actually that was a psychological problem after that the Islam was introduced and took over. So it's hard to say what it actually is.
All right. I'm going to go to Gabs. Same question to you. Gabs, are you there?
Yo, what's happening?
Yeah, brother. Let me know. What is it? Is it a Pakistani problem or is it an Islamic problem?
Boy, I'd say it's a Pakistani. I wouldn't say it's a Islamic problem. I'll blame it more on the people and obviously their culture. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't necessarily blame it on the religion, to be fair. You know, yeah, it's just straight simple. I blame it on the people. I blame it on the people, man. It's their own mindset and the way they're being brought up and stuff like that.
All right. Let me go to Christian. Christian, Malik, are you there?
Yo, hello. Hello.
Same question.
Yeah, what was the question, brother?
Is it a Pakistani problem or is it a religious problem?
When we look at Pakistan and we look at the legal age in Pakistan, we see that it's 16. When we look at Bangladesh, we see that it's 14. So if it's normal for the Bengalis to be marrying 14-year-old girls, so it's probably a normal thing to them. But then we also got to look at the religion and the whole Muhammad and Aisha story. But earlier on, Saracen made a point that Muslim girls are being raped. That's like they're being raped by who? Obviously Muslim men. And just because they're Muslim girls, we're still talking about Muslim pedophiles. So we're still it's still the same Muslim dudes raping these girls, no matter if it's Muslim girls. And these statistics, are they family members? Is it like a uncle, Muslim uncle that's abusing a younger niece or daughter or whatever? Where do these statistics come from? So this is what I wanted to find out. I looked in the back chat, I didn't see nothing there. So yeah, that's it really. It's a cultural problem and it's also a religion problem because of Muhammad and Aisha.
All right. And let me go to Raj as well. So Raj, same question to you.
Yeah, Callum, how long can I speak for a few minutes on this,
Nope.
or is it? I've not got,
Nah, you don't have that long.
how long have I got to talk then?
You have about 1 minute.
All right, so I've spoken about this before. First of all, Saracen, yeah, I think Saracen's a great guy, and I think he's somebody that is trying to solve a lot of issues, including the grooming one. But I don't agree with his analysis. I can still work with him. The thing is, it is to do with Muslim Islam to a certain degree, because when you're telling a man that a woman is a sexual object, that you've got to cover her up, that you've got to lower your gaze, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, and they're coming to the West and women are behaving in a way that they don't think is in line with their particular viewpoint of what a woman should be, they will automatically start thinking, when they're like a horny little 18-year-old, that, oh, this girl's not worthy of being respected. And so I need to ask Saracen, I need to ask the Pakistani or the whatever Muslim community, the Asian Muslim community, why is it the Sikh community is not doing this in the numbers, the Hindu community is not doing this in those numbers? And I reckon it's because we have a more healthy view on sex and mixing with women. When I go to the temple, there's women everywhere. When I eat in the temple, there's women everywhere. We cook together, we eat together, we pray together. And so we don't have that extra level of what I call restriction between men and women, which makes your outlook on women much more healthy. Now, obviously, we have problems ourselves with misogyny and stuff like that, but we don't have that extra element of Islamic culture where women and men are completely separated, and that looking at a woman is seen as something that's sinful. We don't have that. So I need Saracen to really take that into account, that when you're looking at the statistics, it's not just me, 40 Pakistanis, there's Bengalis and there's Turks, there's Afghans, there's people from Iraq, Iran, all over the place. The one thing that connects them is the fact that they have an Islamic culture which is very repressive towards women, and the idea of men and women mixing, which is very, 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 very toxic when you come into the West, where men and women are mixing all the time. And so you need to start understanding this particular issue from that point of view. If you don't, it's just going to keep on happening. So that's my particular piece that I wanted to say.
All right, thank you. Let me get Hugh Boss. Hugh Boss, we are in to discuss this. So Hugh Boss, if you would like to unmute your mic, feel free to.
Can I come in after?
Yep, you can. So Hugh Boss,
Kalam, he's saying unmute his mic for him.
Unmute your mic for you.
Yeah, that's Hugh Boss.
So if you can't do it, I'm going to skip to somebody else.
All right, there you go. He's here.
Okay. Okay, so yep, it's the troll.
Was that Jihadi John? That's Jihadi John, wasn't it?
I don't think so. It looked like Dow, man, but it was a troll.
They're all the same.
Ali Dow's older brother.
If I could come back in, bro.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so so many points to deal with, and I think because I'm probably the only Muslim Pakistani on the thing, I'm going to try my best to be quick and answer your point. So the first thing is we're conflating a few things here. We're conflating the topic that we're discussing is grooming gangs, and presumably what we were initially discussing and what Raj started off with was those in the UK. So I think if we stick to that topic, it just narrows everything down. In the UK, we have a problem amongst certain Pakistani communities, and that has to be addressed. Absolutely. I think when people get stuck, then they start throwing in stuff about what's happening in Sweden, Germany, this, that, the other. Those aren't grooming gangs. Those are perverts. And let's talk about that. What we have in a lot of the Muslim countries, we have very high levels of unemployment, high levels of low education rates. We have people who are often come from rural backgrounds, and this is important because in rural places like villages and places like that is what anthropologists call shame culture. Shame culture is that you if you can get away with it, you will do something. But as long as the community elders or if your family members don't find out, you have that in large parts of Pakistan, especially where a lot of these groomers have come from. That culture has come into towns, and due to multiculturalism and people being allowed to live separate communities, that culture hasn't been challenged. So that's something that we need to challenge across the thing. So when you've got people like that, as soon as they come to the West, so Sweden, Germany, places like that, and they see women, they will just, everything is, oh, wow, no one's watching us. We can get away with it. We'll do what we want. That's wrong. A higher culture in terms of civilization is a guilt culture where people won't do something because they know it's wrong. And that was the culture the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was trying to change. So a lot of the hadiths, if you look at the hadiths, it talks about Allah's watching you. It talks about having personal things. Because in the Medina and places like that where the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was preaching, it was a lot of shame culture. It was very rural. So that's the first point. So if we stick to that point, if we stick to that thing, so let's stick to discussing grooming gangs in the UK. And I'd say this is a Pakistani problem within certain demographics, a social class of Pakistanis that, and I'm a Pakistani Muslim, and I'm openly telling you I'm doing stuff about this. The person who opened up this whole prosecution was a gentleman called Nazir Afzal, a Pakistani, incredible guy who was the head of the CPS of the North. And he's the one that got all of this started. So he's a Pakistani that persecuted, and had it not been for him, stuff like this may still have been acknowledged. So it's important to acknowledge that there's a lot of very good Pakistani people within our community. There are people like also Mohammed Shafiq in places like Bradford, who's doing a lot of work, and there's Pakistani Muslim women. So that's the first point. The second point was Raj asked about this being a Muslim problem. Well, if you look at the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, it was a very open society. We had men and women mixing freely. There wasn't this culture of the parda. There wasn't, there wasn't this segregation of the sexes. In the time of Sayyidina Umar, for example, radiallahu ta'ala, and women were openly coming to the mosque and asking questions. So something happened later on within Islamic history, and that came from the mainly Byzantine and the Persian Parda system. Those who know that, and if you go into India as well, a lot of Muslims took on the culture of the Hindus of the time, where you had, for example, I'm a Rajput, where you have segregation, but it was more of that cultural element came in to Islam. That has now transcended into Pakistani culture, especially, and some of the other culture, and then people put a religious element onto it. But this isn't something to do with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So it's something that needs to be discussed, possibly. Yeah, but I reiterate my point, and the guy asked me, he said this about me earlier. The people who are doing these sort of disgusting, heinous crimes, and it's wrong, are not the devout Muslims that you'll see that are praying 5 times a day, who are not talking to women, who don't even shake women's hands. These are the guys who you see drug dealing. These are the guys who you see in the clubs. These are the guys that you see are drunk. Yeah, these are the guys who are perfectly happy to give non-Muslim and Muslim girls alcohol.
But
So
most of these are old, bald guys.
But they're not religious. What I'm telling
They're
you,
not in the clubs, though, bro.
they might be religious in Ramadan or on Friday, but they're generally, by and large, not religious. Most of them won't know the basics of Islam. So you cannot say this is a Muslim problem. We've dealt with these guys, hundreds of them. And I just out because I'm not a Fed. I work, on a special community project, and this is one of them. My obviously my boss is a Fed. But he's not working for the police at the moment. We're on a special project, and we're dealing with this. And Muslims and Pakistanis, good people, are dealing with this across the Midlands. And it's going to be a lot more high profile on this, which is why I've come on Tyson's TV today. But we are going to be dealing with this problem, and it's going to be a community response from everyone. But it's important not to be used as well. There's certain people that get used, and forgive me, Raja, and I believe you are getting used on this by certain people who have political goals. They'll get the token person, or they'll get the token black man or the token Sikh guy, and they'll make this a Muslim problem. don't be stupid and don't be used by people,
all
because
that
because they will throw you the garbage bin once they've used you afterwards, and don't be exploited, because this is becoming a sensationally political issue. We've got to be smart about this. The way we're going to deal with this is with civil society. We all have to get together and deal with this, and by alienating people, because then people are just going to say, "Oh, they're not going to work with you." So it's important. I can build bridges, yeah, but it's important that people don't over kind of break those bridges and burn those bridges down, because it's a very sensitive issue, and we have to deal with it in the country. And there's people who have got goals who absolutely want to destroy societies, and they'll do anything to get there. So,
Kalam, can I respond to Saracen?
What's going on, gentlemen?
I want to respond to Saracen, but we don't actually have the time for that right now. Family members, we have over 350 people tuned in right now, okay? And it's very startling to see that we only have 100 plus likes. Is it possible for you lot to hit the like button, okay? Hit the like button, let the family members, let your community, let your circles know that you've been watching Titans TV, Talk with the Titans, and we've been discussing the case of grooming gangs and the culture that produces it. We've got a lot of varied opinions on the panel. We've got a lot of people from different backgrounds coming on to share their thoughts. So again, I'm going to ask you guys here to keep hitting the like button and sharing this show with other people.
Just give me a minute for me to reply to Saracen.
All right.
Callum, can I say something really quick?
Callum, can I say something really quick? But right now I'm going to say this. I'm looking to shut down the show for the next 3 to 5 minutes. So if anybody wants to speak, you have to do a lot of talking in a very short space of time. I may rethink it if I have over 200 likes. But right about now, I'm trying to go to my bed. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning for me. All right. So real quickly, let me get you guys to mute your mics. Number one, Raj, you have 1 minute to actually say something.
Yeah. So Saracen, I see you as a person that's a solution to a lot of problems. So I'm not going to try and be too hard on you. I still think you're very, very misguided in terms of the grooming. I can understand why, because it's your community and it's hard to hear brutal facts about your community. But I've never said this about Islam. I've said it time and time again. If someone's like Shamsi or one of these pious brothers, they're not going to be going around grooming girls. They've got better things to do. But there is an Islamic culture which is influenced by your religion, which has made a big distinction between men and women, and made women seem more of a sexual object. And so when you have this in your particular faith, it's going to permeate through. Like when you're a 16-year-old boy and you're being told that a woman needs to cover up. If she doesn't cover up, she's like this. And then you're going out into the West and you're seeing these women doing things that you might think is a bit unsavory. Those men are not equipped to deal with this. And so this is why you have the Muslim population, the Asian Muslim behaving like this, and the Sikhs and the Hindus not, because we do not have that restriction within our faith. We have a more healthy look at sex and between women and men and women, and we're mixing with them. So I'm not blaming Islam, I'm blaming Islamic culture, which has permeated through, which is being negative now to the young, which is a negative to the young mind of a man who's growing up and seeing women behaving in a way that he does not think is what I call respectable. And you need to start understanding this. Otherwise, this situation is just going to keep on escalating. And I don't want brothers like yourself, Cyrus, because I do classify you as someone I get on with, that are going to start getting caught in a crossfire when things start to escalate out of control. And you are the solution, so you need to get your head around this. And it's not me bashing your faith. Yeah, you need to start understanding the psychology of a man. Yeah, a young boy, when he's seeing women walking around and you're telling him that women shouldn't be walking around like that, he will start deviating in his behavior. That's all I got to say. So I think the show is going to be ending soon anyway. But if you want to get back to them, Kalam.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, can I just say something real quick, bro?
Go ahead.
Now, what I was going to say is, how's Saracen going to call Raj the token Sikh guy, just because he supports somebody that he don't agree with? Is he going to say the same about you? Is he going to call you the token black guy just because you show support for Tommy Robinson? People need to chill with these token comments.
Yeah, we're getting off subject though. Still.
Yeah, let me get Buddha in. Buddha, the voice of
Yeah.
reason.
You know what? I was going to say quite a few things. But what I would say is this. I beg you mute your mic, please. Kalam. Right. So what I'd say is this. So if we look at Islam, even when they talk about heaven, they talk about 40 odd virgins and stuff like. It seems to be very sexually orientated. When even to the point that you can't pray in the same area as a woman, the woman has to go behind, and there's a lot of issues around females in Islam that I can see. Okay, granted, I'm not a scholar, but just from a layman's point of view. But the thing, there is an issue there. But the thing that gets me is this: we have people from all sorts of Muslim countries. We have people from Africa who don't see women dressed in the way they see them dressing in England. Yet you don't see them going around and grooming young girls and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, you got guys coming from places like I don't know, Nigeria or Chad or any of these places. It doesn't happen. It seems to be a specific area. The Gora white girl kuffar. That's what it is. And that kind of language, where does that come from? That comes from Pakistan, comes from Bangladesh. So it seems to be that indication right there. I don't know. What would you say to that, Saracen, if you've got the time?
I would say the first thing I'll say is that language does get used. Yes, Kufa, Gori, this, that, Kala, stuff like that happens, bro. Do you know what I mean? But you're dealing with people with very oftentimes very low class, low educational standards. You know what I mean? If I go into some of the white communities where working class white people, they'll use the P word or the N word. Do you know what I mean? And if you go with certain other communities, people will use these, but that's not the standard. The standard, that is, when we talk about middle class Pakistanis, we won't use words stuff like that. If you go into white middle class people, they will, black, white, they won't use words like that. So
you know what, Saracen? I make you right, mate. I make you right, because you know what, the black people when they came over in the 60s had the same thing. If a white girl was dating a black guy, it was like, oh, you N lover, or you this. So I do take that point.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm saying I'm not going to deny it happens, bro. And the brother, I think it was Raskin Bobbins, he showed this article, and I wouldn't be surprised during some of these disgusting things that they do, they use those terms. But what I'm saying is that even if someone is called a white this or white that, I don't even want to I don't even want to say the words, but even if they do say that, it's because they're low class people. Do you know what I mean? They're not following religion. I swear, because I've dealt with these guys. They don't follow religion.
The religion itself, you must concede there is somewhat of an issue going on there.
I would say that we're talking about identity. So we're talking about people from a certain demographic and social class, and they happen to be Muslim. And that's just their identity, and that's how people sometimes, they that's part of their race. So I'm a Muslim, but I don't know nothing about Islam. I will talk about this, but I will fight you if you're black.
How about the Muslim guys in Germany?
But it's Islam. I'm trying to be specific with the actual religion itself. Do you not feel that there's a little bit of subjugation? Not even a little bit, quite a bit of subjugation of females within Islam.
Do I think that there's a problem with misogyny within the Islamic world? 100% yes.
Okay,
but,
there you go.
100. I know 100%. We've got much work to do on that. But what I would say to that is that if that's a different topic for a different day. We have to look at the post-colonial states. We have to look at the history. We have to look at politics. We have to look at cultures such as the Persian culture and the Byzantine culture that have affected Islamic teachings. That's a whole topic within itself. But yes, we do definitely have that problem. But today the topic is grooming gangs. Is it a Muslim problem or is it a Pakistani problem? That's to the topic.
It's one and the same thing.
Yeah, what you were saying is that, is it a Muslim problem or is it a Pakistani problem? And that's why I wanted to bring it back to. So that I just wanted to screen share this real quick. So we're just gonna go to New Year's Eve sexual assaults in Germany.
Yeah.
But there were mass sexual assaults. I think it's in the thousands. So it
But
happened.
is that grooming, bro? That's what I'm asking. That's not grooming. That's deprived people, and which I dealt with. That come from deprived communities. That, like I was talking about, I was talking about the shame culture. Most of these guys came from rural background. That's not grooming. We're
It
talking
doesn't
about grooming.
excuse it. It doesn't
No,
excuse
I'm
it.
not
What I
excusing it.
want to do
I'm
though is
analyzing it.
connect.
I'm analyzing it.
I'm not here to get onto you or try and. What I'm trying to do is just open debate. So what I'm saying is that it's an agreeable point that there is a common denominator, and the common denominator between these things that happen in Europe. And someone said earlier, I think it was Buddha that said, "Oh, Sweden," or as you, Harrison, that said, "Oh, Sweden, it's not Pakistanis that are doing it, but actually not Africans that are doing it, but actually in Sweden, it's a lot of the Somalians and Eritreans that they're overly, grossly represented in the rapes that happen in Sweden."
No, it's different. It's a different topic.
Denominator between these three things. So if we see here, it's the Arab and North African people, so obviously of Moroccan, Algerian descent, that did the rapes in Germany. And then we have the rapes in England that are of Pakistani descent, and then we have the rapes that
Okay, let me just kind of try and change it up a bit. So
No, Buddha, we have to answer this. We have to answer this.
So we've heard the problems and the issues.
between these three
What's the
things is
solutions? Can I ask that?
No. Forget the solutions. We have to discuss the topic today. Let's stick to the topic. Topic today is grooming gangs. I'm going to presume that's in England. Now, if we're talking about sexual crimes by Muslims in different European countries, that's a separate topic, and I'm sure Kalam will say that we can dissect that. But that's a whole topic within this. So if we're talking about misogyny within Muslims and Muslim countries, that's a whole different topic. Now, I'm not saying that they're not related, but what I'm saying is that today the topic was grooming gangs, and that's what we're talking about, and we're talking about in a particular context.
And
So,
child trafficking.
would you accept that?
Grooming gangs is just rape. Just rape.
Indeed. Can I get you guys to mute your mics, please? We're actually, winding down the show right now. I'm very saddened by the fact that we were, grossly unrepresented by women. Like, we need more women to come onto the panel to discuss these topics. These topics are actually affecting, or this particular topic are affecting, young girls. It's affecting women. It's affecting mothers. It's affecting aunties and sisters and cousins and so forth. And I would love to get your guys, voices actually heard on the panel. So much we're just, inundated with, males or testosterone onto the panel. And I would love to get some more females to come onto the panel and to express their views as well. I believe we're actually going to have to, this particular show needs to spill over to a second, third, and possibly a fourth show. I think I might have to actually structure it in a particular way that we actually, go through a process of development and evolution and change within ourselves and understanding of the topic as well. So, this is just an introduction. Rest assured, we are actually going to do some more shows on this particular topic. Yet again, I'm going to ask you guys here to be very respectful inside of the comment section. I'm receiving a few complaints by our members of public that are reading some of these comments. So please, guys, be very respectful. We want to actually foster a community that actually tolerate other people's points of views or ideologies or background or races or ethnicities and cultures. Okay, so please be respectful to each other. Also, shout out to you guys who have actually hit the like button, and shout out to the haters who love watching Titans TV only if it's to actually hit the dislike button. So shout out to you guys for always being there, for being our ardent watchers and supporters by, keep on doing what you're doing, family. Keep on doing what you're doing. We love the haters. Shout out to Enrieb. I see you, family tree. I see you, part two, people who defend pedophilia. Shout out to Enrieb. You've been, donating and showing the love and support. So shout out to you once again. So I apologize. I'm not going to be able to spend any longer on here due to the fact that I need to go to my bed soon. And my health is actually in a state of disarray, and it's deteriorating as we go on. So that's another reason why we haven't been doing much shows, is because my health hasn't been up there. So I apologize for not continuing the show much longer. But what we shall do is post the link in the description box. So if any of you guys would like to actually come on, unfortunately, we can only have 10 spaces maximum. So if any of you guys would like to come on and discuss this topic with our panel members, feel free to come on after the show has finished. All you have to do right now is go to the description box and you will see the link there. All you have to do is click it and come on. So family, we're actually signing out right now. It's been a very interesting show. I know you guys want to say more. I know you guys want to talk.
Bro,
keep your mics muted because we have to close down.
For the next grooming gang discussion, you should try and invite Brick Girl on. She's pretty cool about it.
Definitely. I'm going to try to invite various different people to come on and discuss this with us. But right now, let me just sign off and say I will see you guys on the other side. And I would love for you guys to treat each other with respect and love. You know, this is our community that we've built over the years, where we have people from various different communities, regardless of race, religion, background, political affiliations, or ideological views. Okay, so we've got everybody in here, from Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Christians, Muslim, Jews, atheists, African practitioners, Comedics, and so forth. So please, okay, we have various different people from various different ethnicities, backgrounds, and ideologies. Please respect each other and treat each other with love and respect. Family, I'm signing out right now, so I'll see you guys on the other side.
Safe Kalam.
Get well soon, Kalam, bro.
Get well soon, Kalam, bro. Give thanks. Peace.